Up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back, and we are doing our Week 11 college basketball picks and preview this week. Before we get into the video, make sure you hit that subscribe button in the bottom right corner and under the video. Let us know how we're doing here with our picks, if you agree with them or not. Hit that comment, let us know how we're doing. But we're going to get into last week's results. And Ty, I kind of made it close for once. Colorado and West Virginia didn't help me out this week.
Yeah, one of the crazier weeks of college basketball in a long time, honestly. UCLA we got wrong. I mean, no one really saw that coming. Just a crazy week that could have went a lot worse for both of us. But coming out of it 10-4, not too bad.
Yeah, and we're going on a one crazy week to another with all these ranked games. And here, we're going to start it off with number 5, Baylor going on the road to West Virginia. We saw Baylor lose 2 games last week, first time all year they've lost, and back-to-back. We're going to see if they can get a win here. I think they will. I don't think they're going to have a huge slide. We know how Baylor is, pretty much been the most dominant team this year, and I expect them to bounce back against West Virginia, but it should be a good game.
Yeah, I agree. We got a common theme here. Top 10 teams going on the road. That's why it could be another crazy week. I just don't see Baylor losing 3 games in a row. That's really hard to, really see happening. And West Virginia just got, dominated by Kansas. I think they lost by 25 in that game. So coming off really, tough loss for West Virginia. That's tough to bounce back from. Baylor, they're going to be playing angry. I think they go in and get the win.
And at 7 on Tuesday, Kansas, Oklahoma. And our first disagreement, I do like Porter Moser as a coach at Oklahoma. He's doing some great things already. But I can't go against Bill Self here. This Kansas team, they start to get on a roll. And I just think another huge win here on the road, because I think Oklahoma, they're going to be a really good lower seed, I think, come March. And definitely going to be a good resume builder, if you could get this one on the road, and I think they will.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Oklahoma in an upset here. I've been pretty impressed with them so far this season. I think they're a good team. And Kansas has really struggled with defense-heavy teams. They won a very close one at home over Iowa State. They've had some really close games against defense-heavy teams. I think that continues here, but playing on the road, I think Oklahoma is going to be able to pull out a close game here at the end. I think they're much better than their record.
And at 9, after that game, Texas Tech, Iowa State. Who's going to win this one? I think this is the big question mark, because it's really just a coin flip. I think my reasoning on Texas Tech is because it's a home game. We've seen Texas Tech last week. They were the ones to dethrone Baylor finally, and then they go out and lose to Kansas State in the most randomest way. So I think they're going to have to bounce back from that game. If they win this one, they're going to move up in the rankings, of course.
Yeah, I think there will be not a lot of points in this game. We already saw these 2 teams play, and I don't think the total score was over 100. I think it was very low. I will say Iowa State, they are not frauds. This is a good basketball team from what I've seen. That being said, Texas Tech at home already lost to Iowa State. Now they're starting to get healthy. I just think they shut down Iowa State and they get this win.
And moving over to Wednesday, we got LSU, Alabama. I mean, this is like a typical football matchup, I guess you could say at this point. 2 teams that really are just going to be in the trenches. It feels like in the paint, going at each other. Going to be a back and forth game, of course, but I just got to go with LSU. There's something about this team this year. They just don't give up. And I know that, 15-2, this team was just undefeated just 2 weeks ago. Hit a road bump as of late, but I think if you can go in there to your rival, beat Alabama at their place, who's, starting to slide, I think, that doesn't just, put a damper in their confidence, but I think that's just going to boost you guys in the locker room even more than your 15-2 start. So I'm rolling with LSU here.
Yeah, it was a bad week for both of these teams. LSU with a bad home loss And Alabama, 2 losses last week. They're really struggling right now. I just think this is a desperation win for Alabama. They really need a win like this. 11-7 would look pretty ugly for a team that was almost top 5 early in the season. So I think at home it's going to be really up and down the court game. That's how Alabama likes to play them. I think they get a win here and get back on track.
And at 8 on Wednesday, we got a very interesting Marquette team who's, started to really mesh under Shaka Smart in his first year there. And now you're going against probably the Big East winner in Villanova. And, I got to pick Villanova because they're at home. But, if it's at Marquette, I think I might switch because with how Marquette's been playing, you cannot say that this Marquette team has looked like a top 25 team these last few weeks. But once again, just because it's at home, I think I got to go with Villanova. And, to their credit, those 4 losses were all to ranked teams. So if you take out the 4 ranked teams and they play easy teams, just cupcake schedule, I think that team's 17-0 right now and probably number 1 in the country.
Yeah, I agree. Villanova has looked very impressive, like a totally different team. They just beat Butler by 40 on their home court. So Marquette going on the road, I just don't see them, keeping this game under 10. I think Villanova has another easy win here. They've just been dominant lately. It's hard to pick against them right now.
And then moving over to Thursday, we got the, huge rivalry for these 2 colleges. And to, kind of everyone's surprise, I think it's going to be a lot better game than, most people think because, beginning of the year, we all thought Purdue was, going to be in this spot as they are right now. But Indiana really kind of came out of nowhere. And I really think that Indiana could pull off the upset here. But I just got to give it to Grayson Plouffe because, he's going to influence me to pick Purdue every time. So I'm going with Purdue.
Yeah, I actually was going to go with Indiana. I had to make the change, though. 2 reasons. Number 1, Purdue owns Indiana. I mean, it has just been all Purdue the last 5 or 6 years, even on the road. And then number 2, Indiana runs their offense through Trace Jackson Davis, while Purdue has 2 massive centers that are going to be locking him down the whole game. I don't see how Indiana puts up enough offense, and I think Purdue gets the road win, continues their dominance of Indiana.
And at 7:30, we got a very interesting matchup here. USC, starting to fall back down to earth, and Colorado, who's starting to quietly build a resume here. This is probably the best resume builder game for you if you're Colorado. And USC, it's, still the same thing here because you're going on the road against a pretty solid Colorado team who, has got some votes recently in the AP polls. And I just think the hot hand in USC, the team, needs a bounce back win after last week's, horrific performances. I think they're going to do it here on the road.
Yeah, Iowa State has been replaced by USC now. USC is the biggest fraud in the country. Ranked number 5, which I already thought was a little high, and they just laid 2 eggs last week. I think it continues. I think Colorado, they're an underrated team. They've really figured things out there in the Pac-12, playing at home. And USC, they have just been very bad coming out of COVID. So I think that continues. I think Colorado upsets USC, and it might be time to hit the panic button if they lose this game.
And the one of 4 games that Gonzaga may have a, nail biter against, San Francisco, a team that's just like Colorado, been getting some votes recently in the AP poll. And no doubt if they win this game on the road against Gonzaga, who's number 1 in the country, they're going to be ranked next week. But I just don't see how that happens. We know Gonzaga. We know what they got. We know that their conference is easy, but it's harder than it has been in recent years. But I really don't see how they're going to trip up here. Gonzaga wins big, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Gonzaga, I think they're actually not talked about enough right now. As crazy as that is, they have scored 110 points in 3 straight games, which is just crazy. San Francisco, if you keep them under 100, I'd call that a win because they're not going to get within 20 in this game. It'll be another Gonzaga domination here.
Moving over to Friday, probably going to have huge impact on seeding for the Big Ten tournament at the beginning of March. You got Wisconsin, who's probably playing the best basketball in the Big Ten right now, versus Michigan State coming off an ugly Northwestern loss at home. And, obviously I'm a Michigan fan, and I've been checking Twitter recently. Michigan State fans are kind of getting on us because our team's so bad this year. And then they're still trying to get on us for, being bad. But they just lost to one of the worst teams in the Big Ten in Northwestern at home on their own court. And, the day before the game before that, they had to pull off a buzzer beater win, essentially. So this team, Michigan State team, is really on thin ice, I think, for 14-3 record. That record is a little deceiving, especially in Big Ten play. I think they're going to get some more losses in the Big Ten, and I think that starts here with Wisconsin winning.
Yeah, look for this to be a close game here, Michigan State. Tom Izzo's going to really rip into them after that loss to Northwestern, really bad loss. But if it comes down to the wire, Wisconsin has the go-to guy. They have Johnny Davis. Michigan State doesn't really have that guy. You saw that on Saturday where they really struggled down the stretch. I think Wisconsin is better equipped for a close game. I think they'll win it.
And on Saturday, lots of great games here. And once again, that West Virginia team, and once again, Texas Tech. I think just matchup-wise, Texas Tech matches up better with West Virginia everywhere. Size, athleticism, shooting. I mean, I think Texas Tech is going to really show that they are a top team in the Big 12 here. And kind of West Virginia's record doesn't really show. They're obviously a good team, but playing in the Big 12, nice. Now you finally got to play the big dogs. It's going to be a rough week for them. So Texas Tech wins big here.
Yeah, Texas Tech, I'm still very high on this team. I know they just took a bad loss, but when you beat Kansas and Baylor back-to-back games, you're bound to trip up. It would happen to a lot of teams. I think they bounce back. I think they win this game pretty easily over West Virginia.
And then at 1 o'clock, probably the game of the week in college basketball. Auburn, number 2 in the country, 16-1. The team, I believe, what were they? I don't even know if they were ranked or not in the AP poll preseason. I don't think they were. And then you got Kentucky, who's kind of right where everyone thought they would be, around 10. And, to my surprise, both of us are going with Auburn here. I think it's more just because Auburn's at home and they're equally as hot basketball-wise, games winning. I mean, if you really look at the stats, it's a pretty evenly matchup here. But I'm rolling with Auburn, War Eagle, all the way.
Yeah, this should be a high-level game. These two teams both have a legit argument to say they're playing the best basketball in the entire country right now. Kentucky just dismantled Tennessee. Auburn, obviously, they've just been dominant since their UConn loss. But playing at home, that's a really tough place to play. Underrated arena. Kentucky, I think they're finally going to come back down to earth a little bit. I think it's going to come right down to the wire. But, Auburn has Jabari Smith. They have the athletes. I think they win a close one over Kentucky.
And at 3, right after that game, you got Baylor, Oklahoma. The great football matchup turns into another season of a great basketball matchup. And, I was talking about that Oklahoma team, and I think this is where Baylor's going to falter. They're going to lose 3 out of their next 4, and I think this is going to be that third loss. You obviously picked it in the last game that they play this week. So I think, one of us is going to be right, I feel like, here. They're just bound to trip up again, and I think this is the one because, Porter Moser's really put a great program together in his first year. And you win this game, I think this one pretty much solidifies you in the tournament.
Yeah, I look for Baylor to play a complete game here. Well, complete 2 games this week. I just think they've really struggled. It seems like every game they struggle on one end of the court. They have a great offense, great defense, but one of them's been letting them down every game. I think this is the perfect game for them to really put it all together, get back on track. Oklahoma already played them close, so they'll be ready for what Oklahoma has, and I think they'll go in there and win. And I have Oklahoma beating Kansas, so I don't see them beating Kansas and Baylor back-to-back.
And at 6 on Saturday, LSU, Tennessee. And once again, I'm rolling with the Tigers. I just think there's something in this LSU team this year. We've seen in the past, ever since the Ben Simmons era, this LSU team has really kind of been up and down, with the paying Ben Simmons to get there, all this kind of stuff, the hoops they've had to go through. And now that stuff is pretty much on the back burner. It's all in the past. And now they're focusing on the future. And here they are in the present, 15-2. And after this week, I think they're going to be 17-2.
Yeah, I just look for Tennessee to finally get the win that they've been waiting for. I know they have the Arizona win, but they've struggled so far in SEC play. They just got ran off the court by Kentucky, embarrassed. And I look for them to bounce back here with a big home win. I think their defense will be the difference. I know that sounds crazy. They just gave up 100, but I think they lock in this game and win a close one over LSU.
And a game that is going to, I think, go in UCLA's favor at the end of the day, but it's going to turn some heads. Colorado, we were talking about it in their last game, this video. Could be a good game. Who knows how Colorado is going to perform in that game. I think if they, pull off the upset, they're going to come in this one on cloud nine, and potentially even pull off another upset. But if they lose that, I think they're going to be more motivated to pull off this upset as well. So either way, if you're UCLA, it's not looking like a good matchup wise, at least from a motivational standpoint. And I really don't think it's going to matter though, because UCLA, after the COVID pause, really didn't look like the team they were before the pause. And I think this is going to be, my Baylor game essentially, where they're going to play the most complete game here, take home the victory, and maybe possibly move up a little bit in those rankings.
Yeah, I think UCLA obviously took a bad loss to Oregon, but I think a lot of that was due to their COVID pause. They're still kind of getting their feet under them. It wasn't just a COVID pause. It was almost a month of not playing basketball, a big layoff. So I think now they'll start to kind of figure themselves out again, get back into form. I think they can go into Colorado and win this game. Although Colorado is a surprisingly underrated team.
And Sunday, I think I'm going to be changing my pick here. It will be Xavier because, I've started to look, Xavier did just beat Marquette at home. But I don't know. This Xavier team is kind of coming out of where the record isn't updated. It's 13-3 versus 12-6 here. And that Xavier team, two of those losses have been to Villanova. And, that's the best team in the Big East. And they lost by 4 at home to Villanova, and they lost by 13 on the road to Villanova. So, it really kind of shows that they're right there with Villanova if they play their game. And then the other loss, just a kind of a bad loss, essentially. But I don't know. For some reason, this Xavier team just seems like the non-talked about team in the Big East because, we were talking about Providence a few weeks ago coming out of nowhere. This Marquette team, playing some great basketball. Obviously, Villanova, UConn. I mean, you could just keep going on and on. But some reason, Xavier always gets overlooked in this conference. And I think this will be a big win for him here. And I'm going with Xavier.
Yeah, I just think playing at home, Marquette has had so many things go their way at home, it seems like. And I just think that continues. You just had the Seton Hall game, absolutely bailed out at the end on that foul. And I just don't think Xavier's going to have enough in a tough place to play. Underrated team. I'm going to go with Marquette here, pulling the upset over Xavier. Very up and down. This will be the up.
And that'll be it for our video today. If you like what you saw, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Comments. What do you think about our upset picks this week? Let us know. But until our next video, the Bench Buddies are out. Peace.
She never called back.